Hello friends, welcome to coaching classes by Ash, and this series is in continuation of Transfer of Property Act 1882, in which I am explaining you the important sections that are really very important from the examination point of view. So let us continue, and my target audience is judiciary aspirants, those who are preparing for judiciary. You people can watch the videos. Law students, students who have opted law as an optional subject, and anyone who wants to know about Transfer of Property Act 1882, you are most welcome. Now, today I'll be taking the Doctrine of Election, that is section 35. So section 35 is also known as Doctrine of Election. So whenever or wherever it asks you that what is Doctrine of Election, not get confused, it is your section 35. So what is section 35? Let us start. It says that where a person professes to transfer property which he has no right to transfer, and as part of the same transaction confers any benefit on the owner of the property, such owner must elect either to confirm such transfer or to dissent from it. And in the latter case, he shall relinquish the benefit so conferred, and the benefit so relinquished shall revert to the transferor or his representative as if it had not been disposed of. Subject, nevertheless, where the transfer is gratuitous and the transferor has, before the election, died or otherwise become incapable of making fresh transfer, and in all cases where the transfer is for consideration to the charge of making good to the disappointed transferee the amount or value of the property attempted to be transferred to him. So first of all, election when necessary. What is election? So yes, if you people are living in India or if you people live anywhere in the world, election is really a very common word, and the election you people know is okay, is very good, not because, election simply means, for a layman it simply means that choosing between two or choosing between many. When we elect our representatives, when we vote them, we elect them. Okay. So here also Doctrine of Election is nothing new. Doctrine of Election is choosing between the two, that is saying yes or no, assenting or dissenting. So it states that when a party transfers a property over which he does not hold any right of transfer, and entailed in that transaction is the benefit conferred upon the original owner of the property, such title holder must elect his option to either validate such transfer of the property or to reject it. And upon rejection, the benefit shall be relinquished back to the transferor, subject nevertheless. And where the transfer has been through gratuitous means and transferor has become incapable of a new transfer, in all cases where the transfer is for consideration is an exception to it. Now, this illustration will make it clear to you people. It says A owns a property that is worth rupees 800. B professes to transfer the property to C through rupees 1000 instrument to A. But then A, who is the real owner, elects to retain the property and thus forfeits the gift of rupees 1000. So, it is really very easy, and you people can understand it, that there is an A who is the real owner of the property. Okay? There is B who wants to transfer the property of A to C. So B says to C that I'll transfer you the property of A, and then the property of A is worth rupees 800. So B says to A that I'll give you rupees 1000 if you give me your property and I'll transfer that property to C. But A dissents. A says no, I cannot transfer you my property, or I'll not transfer you my property. So A retains this property. A says I'll not transfer my property. So what happens? A doesn't give his property, C doesn't get anything. But what of the money that B took from C, that is rupees 1000? He'll give it back to C, he'll compensate it back to C. Now, to make it further clear, election means choosing of one right between two rights, when there is clear intention that both the rights cannot be enjoyed but only one. So section 35 of TPA defines doctrine of election, and this doctrine is based on the ruling of Cooper versus Cooper. So wherever you write doctrine of election, please mention the ruling of Cooper versus Cooper. Mention the name that doctrine of election has been taken by the ruling of Cooper versus Cooper. Now, the conditions for the application of doctrine of election is, the first is that the transferor should dispose of the property in which he has no right to transfer. That is, if you remember the illustration, B wanted to transfer the property of A, and B had no right to transfer the property of A, but he wanted to transfer the property of A to C. So the transferor was one who did not have any right to transfer, because it was not his real property, it was the property of A. The second point says that the transferor must confer a benefit to the real owner of the property. Remember, B said to A that I will give you 1,000 rupees if you give me your property, and I will give that property to C. The third point says both the benefits conferred and the transfer made must be a part of the same transaction or document. So R was the same transaction, A, B and C. Okay, B said to A that I'll give you 1,000 rupees, you give me a property, I'll transfer that property to C. Was the same transaction. The fourth point says the owner is now given a choice of election, either to accept the benefit and allow the transfer or to reject both. So the owner was A, the real owner, so he had to choose between assenting or dissenting. If he says yes, I'll give my property, what happens? A gives his property, C gets the property. What if A rejects? A says no, A has his property, C doesn't get anything, and B has to compensate C. Now, elections can be of two types. Election can be done by two types. First is direct election and second is indirect election. So direct election is in the form of letter, telegram, oral words or conduct, and indirect elections are of three types. The first is acceptance of benefit without knowledge of duty to elect, which means that if the donee accepts the benefit given to him by the transferor, such act on his part constitutes an election by him. It is therefore essential that the acceptance of benefit should have been made with the full knowledge of his duty to elect and all that matters connected with such benefit. So where B intended to transfer the property of A to C. So it was A's duty, if A had the knowledge that B is doing something, that he wants to transfer some property to C, and then also he agrees, then the transfer would be valid. But if A did not have any knowledge and B fraudulently transfers his property to C, A can revoke the transfer. Now, the second is saying enjoyment for 2 years. So what happens if one keeps the property for 2 years from the day it is conveyed to him and says nothing to explain the conduct otherwise? The law leaves everybody to presume that the person so retaining the property for such a duration is doing so under the belief that it is his own and he accepts the document as originally proposed. For example, let me take a new slide so that I can explain you. Yes. For example, A is the real owner of the property, B the person who wants to transfer the property of A to C. Now what happens? B says to A, I want to transfer your property to C. A doesn't say anything, and B says further that C says that if you will give your property to C, then C will give you rupees 1 lakh. Okay, 1 lakh. A still doesn't say anything. Neither he says yes nor he says no, but he takes rupees 1 lakh which B gave to him from C. Okay, so A takes rupees 1 lakh. He keeps it for 2 years with him. Now when C says that it has been, it is 2 years, what about my property, give him my property, and then if A says no, when did I say that I am transferring him my property, or when did I assent to it? The law says no. If you have kept it, if you have kept any consideration which the person offered you for 2 years, the law will presume that you have acceded, that you have said yes, it would be taken as a yes. Okay. So this was our second point. Now what was our third point? The third point is status quo cannot be restored. So this clause explains another way as to how indirect election may take place. If the property is exhaustible by consumption, the moment its consumption starts, the election in favor is presumed. For example, the case of a coal mine, the moment excavation starts and even few chunks of coal are dug out, the coal mine begins to exhaust. So in these cases, no period is necessary. It may be immediately so done after the transfer or at any time thereafter, but election in favor would be presumed. So these were your two types of elections. Now, again an example, A, B and C. So I told you that what happens when A accepts the proposal. When A accepts the proposal, A's property goes to B and B's property goes to C. But when A says no or A rejects the proposal, A's property remains with A, B's with B, and C becomes the disappointed dunny. Disappointed dunny. The DD which is written here, its full form is disappointed dunny. I have written it in a short form. You people do not write it in a short form. I have written here because the space was less. And B becomes your refractory dunny. B becomes your refractory dunny. R-E-F-R-A-C-T-O-R-Y. Okay. So if A rejects the proposal, A's property remains with A, B's property remains with B, but C doesn't get anything, right? So C becomes the disappointed dunny. In Hindi, it is called Dukhi Pakshkar. And B becomes the refractory dunny. So, doctrine of election, I guess it is clear to you people because I really have given you many illustrations in this. So, our section 35 has been completed. So, I have done your section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 19, 21 and 35 now. Next I will be taking your section 41, that will be your ostensible owner. And yes, please subscribe because the series I am doing is in continuation, and for those who have subscribed from very first lesson, you people are really the lucky ones because I have started this CPA from the sections that are really useful in your examination, and I take the important sections only which are frequently asked in your judiciary examination. So thank you for subscribing, and for the folks who are watching for first time, do subscribe it. It will be for your benefit only, and like, recommend, share, and if you have any questions or any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer you, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day ahead.